Our next guest has been on the front lines fighting for livery cab drivers and for bodega owners. And now Fernando Mateo wants to fight for all New Yorkers.
I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would be standing here today announcing my candidacy to become the next mayor of New York City. I am not a politician, and I really don't like politics. I haven't seen this city as bad as it is right now for 30 years. And we need to change that. This race is not...
Fernando Mateo kicked off his run for mayor at Dykeman Street in the Inwood section of Manhattan. He joins me now to give us some insight into his campaign. Good morning to you, Fernando Mateo. Thanks for being here.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Like we heard you say in your own words, you are not a politician. You do not like politics. So why run for mayor when at this specific point in time, the city is reeling from a pandemic, facing some serious racial disparities that will require someone with a heck of a lot of experience?
Not political experience. Common sense experience is what's needed. Someone that knows how to manage, someone that knows how to lead. And I'm a leader, and I can do it. Crime is what's driven all of the businesses away from New York. It's not so much the pandemic and the abuse of power that city agencies have over them. It's the fact that people are afraid to go out. When families think about their children, they want to think about a place where their kids and their families are safe first. After that, it's the economy. Our economy's in shambles. We don't know what is going on with this mayor. We don't understand why people cannot remain in business in this city. It's only because politicians have a career of politics.
Right.
They don't understand. They've never gotten up at 4 a.m. and gone to bed at midnight. They've never met payroll. They've never paid rent. They don't know what it is to manage anything, because they live in a bubble, in a political bubble, and have no clue. And I have a clue, and I can figure this out.
And I'll get to the issues of crime in just a second, but this is a heavily Democratic city. We know this is no surprise, right? You've said that the Democratic Party has lost touch with what New York City is, so you're running on the Republican ticket. So do you think that you'll actually be able to convince voters, especially in the immigrant community, to vote for a Republican?
Well, I'm an urban Republican, which is a different breed of Republican. I grew up in the inner cities. I grew up in the projects. I know what it is that these Democrats go through because I've been through it. I'm in the pit. I'm with them. So it's not about politics. It's not about Democrats or Republicans or independent. It's about the person. It's about what the person can do. And let's not forget, the best 20 years this city has had was on 20 years of Republican leadership, Giuliani and Bloomberg. After that, this city's been in shambles with crime. Every time a Democrat comes into office, crime rises. Delinquents are out. This bail reform has to be totally reformed. We need more cops on our streets. We need to make sure that we redefine what New York City is about.
So you just touched upon bail reform, and you also touched upon reform as a whole in terms of crime, right? We had Police Commissioner Shea on the other day talking about the rise in gun violence. And I've asked every person who's come on that's running for mayor this question. Do you plan to keep the current police commissioner? And if not, who would you actually choose? And how do you see reform taking place on the streets?
Well, I'm hoping to announce my transition team in a few months. And we're going to start looking for the best leaders for the different agencies. Leaders that understand who New Yorkers are, who understand what immigrants are about, that understand what the minority communities are going through, because we are the majority in New York right now. We are the ones that are basically suffering, have the pain and the sufferings that create mayhem.
So do you see that as Commissioner Shea? Do you see that as Commissioner Shea?
I haven't sat down and discussed it with Commissioner Shea. I know that there are a lot of good candidates. I know there are a lot of good people. There's, we have a chief. Her name is Juanita Holmes. She is amazing. There's a lot of good candidates out there, and I'm going to look outside of New York as well, maybe to bring in a breath of fresh air. I don't know exactly who my police commissioner is going to be, but rest assured, New York will be safe again. New York will be a city that everyone's going to want to come back to, because I'm going to create the incentives for small businesses to come back. I'm going to welcome the rich back. I'm going to make sure that the rich help the poor. I'm going to create a partnership with every entrepreneur in New York City. And I'm going to guarantee that New York City will be their insurance company, that they will not be put out of business by a city agency. We've had too much of that, and it's time to change it. Listen, I built the best school at Rikers Island, a school that taught, trained, and found employment for nonviolent offenders. Rikers Island isn't the problem. I will not close Rikers Island. I will make sure that the management at Rikers Island is out.
Rikers, I mean, that was already voted for, to have Rikers Island closed.
You know what? It might have been voted for, but it hasn't been done, and we could always revisit it with a new city council. We've got to think about common sense things. Who wants a jail in their backyard? Who wants to spend billions when we've already invested billions at Rikers Island? This is the waste that politicians have, and we need to stop it. We need to stop them.
Understood.
They're ruining our city. I'm the first Hispanic immigrant, and you know what? I'm going to make this the best city ever.
Fernando Mateo, we are out of time. There's a lot more we can discuss. We'll have you back here because I also want to talk about the pandemic and vaccines. We're just simply out of time here, giving everybody the same amount of time when they come on. So I want to stay true to that fairness. Fernando Mateo, thank you, and we'll welcome you back anytime, okay?
Thank you.
Got the shirt on.